Welcome back, folks, to the Disrupting Education for Good podcast with New Era Superintendents. I'm Matt Kinnaman, founder of New Era, and happy today to have as our guest on Disrupting Education for Good, Dr. Will Darter, the superintendent of the Everton R3 School District in Everton, Missouri, from the heart of the USA. So, Dr. Darter, welcome. How are things in Everton today?
Well, Matt, thanks so much for having me. It's a beautiful, I always say to my friends, it's a beautiful day in Everton, and we are very lucky and blessed, just underneath 78 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, and just so pretty. We have our youth sports camps going on here as we've wrapped up school this last week and doing wonderful things here. So thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm in Park City, Utah, and it's May 18th, and the ground is covered with snow. We had we had a snowstorm. Well, you could call it that overnight. So everything looks like a winter wonderland today.
We get about 6 good days in the spring, 6 good days in the fall, and this is one of them. So
All right, good, good. Uh, Dr. Will Darter is the author of The Empowered Rural Education Leader, and we're going to talk a little bit about this right now. Um, of course, Dr. Darter's book is, I say of course, but just so you know, available at Amazon, and encourage you to pick it up as I did right here. We hear about the big school districts all the time. New York City, LA Unified, and on down the list. Hundreds of thousands of students. But among the 13 to 14,000 school districts in the U.S., nearly half of these districts have fewer than 1,000 students. And about 1/5 of these districts have fewer than 300 students. Like more than 2,000 of our school districts have fewer than 300 students. How many students in your district?
yeah, we're one of them. We're just under 200 kiddos.
So some people might look in at that and say, what's the big deal? I know that that's not true. In fact, anyone who's done anything comes to find out that smaller doesn't mean easier. Sometimes it means more difficult
Good point.
because you have less infrastructure. And well, let's get to a question. What keeps you going as a superintendent in a small district? And then there's going to be a follow-up question to that. Why does what you're doing in a small district matter to superintendents who are in larger districts? But what is it all about for you in a district of 141 kids?
Man, that's really, really great question. And thank you for just showcasing the book. The book is just an opportunity to share the message of the great things that are happening in rural districts, right? Across the country, of course, across our state here in Missouri. I think for me, the reason, I've been in big districts. I actually started my career in an urban setting, went to 2 suburban schools, and I found my way home here in rural education. I think one of the big things for me of being in a rural area really just comes down to community. It comes down to the fact that here, way out here, kind of on a dirt gravel road area, right? There are still people and there are still students and there's still a community that needs to be cared, supported, inspired, and encouraged. And so I really kind of wrote this book, not just as a way of pointing out rural education, but also pointing out that the leaders and the people who are a part of these communities really matter and they're doing incredible work. And so when I got here into our small school, there was this sense of, do people even notice us? Do people even care anymore about the rural education setting? Do people even see us? Everything from our legislators, to our local area. Do people know that we're here? And the thing that I've noticed, especially being a rural school leader, is my story is not unique to me. This is something that we're hearing across the country of people who want to know that they're seen, want to know that they're heard, want to know that what they do every day matters for students. And so the book was just a way of really highlighting and calling to action that you do matter, you are important, that what you do for students, whether it's in a district, like you said so well, Matt, of hundreds of thousands of kiddos, tens of thousands, I should say, or thousands of thousands, or a district of a couple hundred. What you do for students matters regardless of your setting. And that's the subtitle of the book, is a framework for small schools, but why it matters everywhere. And so for bigger districts, I think at the end of the day, whether you're in a small district, a big district, at the end of the day, we're with people, right?
Mhm.
And so whether you are a small school leader or a big school leader, some of the ideas that I talk about in the book, but some of the real shared experiences that I've lived as a rural leader that I wanted to share with others. I know people in Los Angeles and Orange County and different places across the country that are using those same principles in their day-to-day work as well. So it's less about me and it's more about us. And that was the spirit of the book.
Yeah, that's great. Most students and most superintendents are in small districts. Um, the big districts get most of the limelight, but most of the action numerically, when we take it cumulatively, and is in small districts, and superintendents of small districts are doing all of that leadership. New Era of Superintendents is focused on supporting superintendents to address the achievement crisis effectively and to scale successes and to learn from one another. The achievement crisis in American education can't be ignored. I mean, it can be ignored, but we better not ignore it at
Right.
all, because it's real. Most students do not read at grade level. Most students do not do math at grade level.
It's true.
And where things are toughest demographically, socioeconomically, so are the achievement numbers.
Hmm.
There is an achievement gap. This is present in rural settings, and it's present in urban settings, but there is an achievement gap. What is the achievement crisis? I'm going to call it the achievement crisis, and you can differ with me on this if you see it differently. But what does achievement, what I'm calling the achievement crisis, look like in your district? What are you learning? What are you doing? What can other superintendents find that they might want to scale or learn from in your experience?
What a great question. You know, I think in the state of Missouri, I think we are right over 64% of our districts are classified as rural. So, well, one of the things we noticed in terms of very early on and how we do business in our district is we've got to do something that meets the needs here, right? And so that goes directly to your question about achievement. And so, yeah, I think many times, especially in a rural district, we see access right to resources. We see sometimes limited resources being a roadblock or one of those hurdles we have to overcome. Many times we'll see a strong culture of the way things used to be and not a lot of innovative forward thinking in rural districts. And so those are some of those things that we begin to, as a group and our leadership team and with our community, we begin to ask questions about in Everton. And so we created our strategic plan. We created some partnerships. That strategic plan gave us some direction. Those partnerships gave us some of that access, right? And then we began to say, what is it that our kids really want and need? So, an example of a way that we're addressing achievement. One of the things that happens a lot in our community, and this happens in a lot of rural communities, uh, the highest education level for a lot of our folks is our high school here in town. And so what we were noticing is how can we use that for the good of our community and build and grow it? So we came up with this idea of Diploma Plus, Matt, where we not only have our kids graduate with their diploma, but we also have them graduate with a registered youth apprenticeship, with industry recognized credentials and advanced training. So all four of those layers kind of go into that Diploma Plus program.
Say it again. The Diploma Plus. What are the components again?
That's right. So it's a rigorous diploma, number one. We
Mm,
don't throw away the diploma. The diploma, instead of a finish line in our community, has now become the starting line, right?
mm.
So they have the diploma. We also graduate our kiddos with a registered youth apprenticeship so kids can earn and learn while they're in high school. We do education apprenticeships on our campus as well as maintenance on ours as well. And then we go to other areas in our rural district areas that we're partners with, and they can have access to additional apprenticeships. We do industry recognized credentials so our kids can work for Cisco, Amazon, UPS by the time they're juniors, seniors, because they have those industry recognized credentials. And then advanced training. So many times districts will say, hey, let's get all these kids and go to college. Well, we recognize in our district that with our highest level being usually that high school level, some of that advanced training isn't necessarily college level or advanced
No.
courses. While that is some of our kids, we wanted to have some of our kids have some technical skills. So going to what we would our tech center here in town, and I should say the town next door to us, but having different opportunities than they've ever had before and kind of putting that into a pathway, I would say, for our kids. That's one way we've really grown to address that achievement level is by readying the workforce, is what we kind of call that. So we take that, we extrapolate that with experiences all the way down to our pre-K, and that includes our learning and our math and our reading as well, where we want all of these things to be our kids to be ready by the time they're juniors and seniors to be working a job, earning money for their families, and working inside of our community.
What kind of percentages are you seeing across your juniors and seniors, and as students approach those grades, what percentage of your students are getting into one of these programs, credentialing or apprenticeship or similar?
Absolutely. And this is one of the benefits that I think a small school is, right? So, one of my great friends, Rocky, he always says that schools that are my size are speedboats, right? We're not cruise
Mhm,
ships, right? So, a small rural school like mine, we can make these adjustments very quickly, but we can also make them effectively. So, right now, we're at 100% of all of our seniors to go through that Diploma Plus program. Okay. That's about 15 kids for our
mhm.
seniors, but we make sure that each one of them have all four of those levels before they graduate. Our juniors, they kind of start that process, and our sophomores are in this exploratory phase where they're kind of creating this plan along with this exposure plan that we have for our freshmen. So by the time they come to their junior year, they're launching into those apprenticeships, IRC routes, and into their advanced training routes.
Are other districts in your neighborhood, in your region doing this kind of thing?
You know what? What's so exciting is we're kind of leading the way with this as a small rural district. And that was really, again, going back to that book. The idea was, what can we do together, right? As a
Mhm,
small rural community, what can we do together? I think a lot of times, and I don't want to discredit large districts in this conversation or medium sized districts because I think they're on their path, right? We've just found our path, right? As a small district. And a lot of times, what happens is we get comparative, right? And we say,
mhm.
well, if it doesn't look like the big district down the road or a couple miles, couple minutes to a couple hours down the road, it's not good enough, right? And what we did was we just kind of said, instead, what does our community think is good enough and how can we meet their needs? And instead of building another sports complex, how can
Mhm.
we take tax money that we are entrusted with, because it's not our money, Matt, right? It's our community's money. How can we take that tax money that comes into the school and invest in our students so that our students can invest back into our community?
Do you
So
have any? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
so yeah, I think the real thief here of achievement in rural schools is not limitation. The real thief of schools is mindset and the ability to overcome obstacles. And I would also say comparison, right? In a small school, if you feel like you have to keep up with the Joneses next door in a bigger district where their district is, 10, 20 times your budget, right?
Mhm.
You're going to lose that race every time. But if you can get your ears open and you can get people at the table to tell you what they really think, small schools can win even today in this climate and culture that we're in.
Okay. Small schools can win even in this climate and the culture that we're in, and you are doing something about it.
That's
Uh,
right. And we're doing it together. So the great thing about Diploma Plus, Matt, this wasn't my idea, right? Like a lot of
right.
times we think, oh, the leader has to be the one to figure everything out. You really don't. You really just need to be willing to be humble as a leader and to say, what can we do together? And this is a plan from our strategic plan that we listened to our parents, we listened to our teachers, we listened to our students. And they said that I remember the comment, Matt, from our strategic planning. They said, what would it be like if our kids worked for Amazon? What would it be like if our
Mhm.
kids worked for these big areas outside of our town? And then they were able to bring some of those skills back to our community. And so that just kind of kicked the ball where we said, hey, let's run with it and see what we can come up with.
All right, we're going to continue this conversation. We're done for today. We're out of time, but I'm going to read a poem, and I'm going to ask you to do 30-second commentary on this poem, and that's how we're going to wrap. Okay?
You bet.
Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights up the whole sky. From Hafiz,
That's right.
13th century. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, well, that of course that's the poem that I kind of start the book out with, and I really think it captures the heart of what rural leadership is and leadership in education in general. it's not about what you get out of it. It's about the love you can put into it. And as Hafiz says so well, look what happens with unconditional love, Matt. It lights up the whole sky for all of eternity. So it's a joy and an honor to be a part of that story here in Everton and to watch the whole community be lit up because we care about students, we care about their success and their future.
Well, we appreciate your leadership and the way you lead with a big heart and an open heart, and that's going to bring success to lots of people. We trust that your good work is going to be scaled to more districts and across the New Era community. We're looking forward to that. So thanks for being with us, and we'll continue the conversation soon with Dr. Will Darter from Everton R3 School District in Everton, Missouri. Thanks again, Will.
Appreciate you, Matt. My pleasure.
Okay.